What is a samurai with two katanas at his side doing walking through 17th century Seville? The answer begins with a perfect storm. In 1609, the most powerful man in the Philippines was shipwrecked on the forbidden shores of Japan. By law, he was supposed to be executed and his cargo confiscated, but instead he changed the history of relations between Spain and Japan. What you're about to see is the chronicle of the Lost Alliance. The exact moment when the Spanish Empire and Shogunate Japan were one step away from dominating the Pacific together. This is the true story of the castaway, the shogun, and the samurai embassy that crossed two oceans to see the King of Spain. After a violent storm, the ship carrying Rodrigo de Vivero, who was the governor of the Philippines, was shipwrecked off the coast of Japan along with his 350 men. Against all odds, only 56 perished in the disaster. The survivors were rescued by the inhabitants of the coastal village of Onyuku, who saved their lives by offering them shelter, warmth, and food. The Japanese authorities arrested everyone and brought Rodrigo before the man who truly pulled the strings of the country, Tokugawa Ieyasu, the Great Unifier. Rodrigo did not go as a trembling prisoner. He went as a grandee of Spain and knew exactly which card to play to save his neck.
The shogun says that you Spaniards are a plague who first send priests to confuse the people and then soldiers to take the land. Why should my lord let you leave his island alive?
Tell the great lord that I do not want his lands. I have something more valuable than land. I know his silver mines yield little. My engineers in New Spain have a technique that your men don't know. Teach us to navigate your waters, protect my priests, and I will teach you how to become the richest empire in Asia.
That was the Heikamate. Ieyasu was obsessed with mining and foreign trade, and he hated relying on Portuguese intermediaries. Rodrigo offered him a direct deal, mining technology from New Spain in exchange for protection for Christians and open ports for Spanish galleons. It was a resounding success. And do you know what the shogun did? Not only did he sign the treaty, he gave Rodrigo a ship to return home. A ship built in Japan by an Englishman named William Adams, known as Anjin-san, the San Buenaventura. In 1610, Rodrigo arrives in Mexico, returning as the architect of a new era. But upon arriving in Acapulco, ambition grew. The viceroy wanted more.
Welcome, noble ambassadors.
And they decided to send a second mission to formalize everything. But this is where Spanish diplomacy made a fatal mistake. To close the deal, they didn't send Rodrigo, the friend of the Japanese, back. They sent Sebastián Vizcaíno, an arrogant explorer who had no diplomatic skills. Vizcaíno arrived in Japan, looking down on their customs and demanding obedience. It was an absolute disaster. Within a matter of months, he insulted the court, and the alliance was mortally wounded. But far from the capital in the cold northern lands, a man watched the chaos with a smile. Date Masamune, the one-eyed dragon, the lord of Sendai. Masamune was a legendary warrior, but also a visionary who wanted Western technology and trade to make his domain more powerful than the central government itself. He ignored Vizcaíno's clumsiness and decided to take control. He would build his own galleon to speak directly with the King of Spain and the Pope.
They say the journey is impossible, that crossing 2 oceans is a death sentence. So I believe that it is the death of a man. That's why I chose you. Hasekura.
My life belongs to the Lord. Your orders will be carried out.
You won't fight with the katana. You will fight with words. You will sail to New Spain. You will cross its lands, and then you will go to Madrid and Rome. Tell them that Lord Sendai wants to be their friend. Tell him that my ports will be open, and to his God as well. However, we want their riches in exchange. You won't come back without a treaty signed by King Felipe.
It was a suicide mission. Hasekura didn't speak Spanish, he wasn't a Christian, and he had never left Japan. But Masamune spared no expense. He ordered the construction of the Dede Maru, also known as San Juan Bautista, a 500-ton monster that combined Japanese and European engineering. In October of 1613, 180 Japanese boarded the ship. They set sail into the unknown. What Hasekura didn't know was that while he was sailing east in search of an alliance, things were changing back in Japan. The shogun was beginning to suspect the Christians, and the hourglass had started to run. 3 months later, they appeared on the horizon of Acapulco. The diplomatic invasion had begun. The landing in Spain was madness. Imagine it, October of 1614. The people of Seville leaned out of their balconies to watch men with curved swords and silk kimonos pass by. Hasekura was treated like a star. They stayed in the Alcazar, visited the Giralda. It was the novelty of the century. But Hasekura hadn't crossed the world to go sightseeing. He needed to prove that Japan was a reliable partner, and for that, he had to make the ultimate sacrifice. In Madrid, before the court, the samurai knelt down and received baptism. King Felipe III was his godfather. Hasekura changed his name to Felipe Francisco de Hasekura. It seemed that the trade agreement was within reach, but then the mail arrived.
Your Majesty, I have embraced the Christian faith. I have crossed 2 hells of water to get here. My lord Date Masamune offers you his ports. Sign the deal and silver will flow for both of us.
Your faith? You claim to be Christian, but we've received letters from the Jesuits in Japan saying that your shogun is burning churches, expelling our missionaries, and executing converts. We won't sign anything with a country that kills our brothers. Your mission is over, Mr. Ambassador. Go back home. The rejection was absolute. Neither the King of Spain nor the Pope in Rome wanted to sign. The journey back was a slow agony. Hasekura took years to return, crossing the Atlantic and the Pacific again. When he finally arrived in Japan in 1620, the country he found was no longer the same. The shogun had decreed sakoku, total closure. Christianity was forbidden under penalty of death. Hasekura, the man who had dined with kings and popes, had to give up everything he had seen. He died a year later, sick and, they say, with a broken heart. His family was persecuted, his ship dismantled. Japan closed its doors for 250 years. Feels like a sad ending, doesn't it? A historic failure, but not everything disappeared. Some of the samurai who came with Hasekura decided not to return to that dangerous Japan. They stayed here in Spain, in a town called Coria del Rio. They got married, had children, and today, 400 years later, hundreds of people in that town have a last name that is the living proof of that adventure. Their last name is Japan, the children of the alliance that could have changed the world, but in the end, only changed their lives. This is the story of the Keicho Embassy,